as you would see them normally. I think this week it has to be that much more refined to make sure and claim their spot to Katowice.
Well, let's look at the Battleground pool, because Battlefield of Eternity is one to keep in mind, because both LFM and HeroesHearth Esports have had tendencies to sort of draft themselves into holes when it comes to range and not getting the types of range they want. That's where we ended up seeing LFM have Sylvanas and Tracer, and that ended up not working out for them. It was easy for Simplicity to deal with that, and Simplicity kind of preying on that same kind of thing and getting Li Ming and Greymane early after the Genji and Hanzo bans. But we're not going there yet, so we'll slow our roll on Battlefield of Eternity. We're going to go to Sky Temple.
Sky Temple, this is LFM's choice, and with LFM, this is where they actually have 2 victories. This has been their most successful map. Their KD is the highest on this, so this is something when we saw them first pick up their first victory, it was against Space Station. They've claimed another one on this, so no surprise that with the map choice here that they're definitely willing to take themselves to Sky Temple, something that they've actually excelled on.
Yeah, it is a favorite of theirs. It's where they got that victory over Tempo Storm. And they had some pretty cool decision-making as we looked at their play versus Tempo Storm on Sky Temple. Things like skipping that first Temple phase, which seemed like it was going to be really bad for them, but they got some early picks on the bottom laner. They were able to catch out Glaurung a few times. And then what they did was they accelerated the pace of trying to take down structures in their own way so that they could get to 10 without taking a fight, and then once they got there, then they could deal with the more aggressive composition of Tempo Storm with things like Sanctification. They had Sound Barrier. I think they even had Bunker too with their plays.
That's the one thing it seems like they really excel at is the aggression style. They're not afraid to be aggressive, and in so doing, it allows them to kind of counter what other aggressive compositions might, come at them. Where they've struggled just a tiny bit is just the fact that they've kind of dropped off in terms of macro strategy.
Yes.
But what we saw from them in their last series was they were very definitive in some of their early rotations and what they wanted to accomplish. It's just a matter of evolving those strategies. So there's definitely clear progress on multiple fronts with this team.
Are you surprised to see HeroesHearth ban Malfurion? He's been very strong, don't get me wrong. For a lot of teams, even for HeroesHearth, and everyone feels like everyone at least in North America seems to feel like he has only gotten stronger with his changes. But LFM has only played one Malthael game, and it wasn't Swaps who was on it. That was when they were playing more of a triple melee composition.
Yeah, that was Draded that was on that. So it's definitely something unique, and maybe teams are just feeling it's way too strong. The Malfurion, we've seen teams, especially in North America, high priority on bans yesterday and then high priority on the pick. This is one of Tracer's better battlegrounds, and this is something where Malfurion complements that style very well. HeroesHearth, there's some things about ping, right? Depending on which server, who's the home team. So there is some hesitancy from certain teams to play Tracer on a higher ping server. So this is something that for them, depending on if it's their home ground, on where they're feeling, it's something they're more than comfortable going into.
I would love to see. I would assume that's going to be a Crowan Tracer. That would be pretty darn awesome to see. HeroesHearth last weekend, they did win versus Simplicity, but Simplicity didn't make it easy for them. And then HeroesHearth ended up losing to GaleForce Esports. And for HeroesHearth, it feels like when they try to be more adaptive in the drafting, when they're trying to respond to their opponents, sometimes they end up with holes within their draft. Things like the solo Uther versus Lunara that happened with GaleForce. The Battlefield of Eternity that we talked about, where they ended up with the Tacit or Tychus as their solo range. So I'm hoping that we're seeing HeroesHearth come in at least to this series with a game plan. If they need to adapt on the fly, if LFM's winning the games, then they can adapt from that. But I'm hoping maybe that we're seeing the start of the game plan for this weekend for HeroesHearth.
I really wonder if they'd be willing to commit this early, because Blaze, 40-second cooldown, can definitely put down that bunker if he gets a pulse bomb on him. Genji, protected, by the way. So there are a lot of options to deal with a potential Tracer, and the deflect also works really well. You got to be quick to cancel that auto attack if you're Tracer. So I really wonder if they'd be willing to commit this early. Malfurion, in his own right, is really strong, right? He's one of the top, I think he's second right now or third in terms of support win rates. So
yes,
it's definitely something that you don't have to go down that path. It just enables that if you want it.
Yeah, he's 61% within North America, and then 55%, so he's a little bit stronger in NA than what he's looking at worldwide. But Tychus and Uther now sets up for another Uther Malfurion double support. Now seeing this not only from Simplicity Jayhao.
Yeah, this is probably one of the few ways that you can get away with this, right? Uther has the stun. He has the ability to get in and create big plays, as does Malfurion. You get the stun, you get the Twilight Dream. You can take care of a diving style Genji, right? You can't E out, you can't jump out, you can't swift strike out if you're Genji, if you're stunned and silenced, right? And so that's one of the things that on the backside, Genji has a tough time diving into this style of composition. Tychus, a tough hero to take down, deals with auto attacks potentially coming out from the Odin. So with Genji there, it's a great pickup, obviously a great hero, but you're going to need a lot more than that to deal with the composition from HeroesHearth.
What this has struggled with, this double supporting setup, is trying to stop early siege. And for HeroesHearth then, they need to make sure that they're responding appropriately if it seems like LFM is going further along that route. Things like a Greymane, maybe we'll see a Greymane ban if LFM would be likely to run that Genji Greymane. LFM themselves, they're going to ban ETC, trying to keep control of the warrior pool slightly. Also potentially limiting out a global if HeroesHearth wanted to run the stage dive, although Ishbu lands a lot of mosh pits.
Yeah, I actually asked him about that. The Towers of Doom, infamous blink mosh. Yeah,
Oof.
I mean, that was pretty amazing right there. And furthermore, 5 games on ETC, only 1 loss so far for Ishbu, by far his most successful hero, right up there with Diablo. So definitely taking a strength away from HeroesHearth.
Abathur banned from HeroesHearth, as now LFM looks to add more along to the Blaze and Genji. For Blaze and LFM, Swabs has generally been the Blaze player. We have not seen Figgy play Blaze yet, so we're likely still looking for what that next warrior is going to be. Tyrael, he hasn't won with him yet. 0-4 with Tyrael, but Tyrael being able to have some boss control if you want to holy ground on the boss point. Sanctification is going to be a big enabler for Genji. It's there, and with Uther off the books, that might be where they're going to head with that.
I really, you know, if they were go double warrior in this style of Genji Blaze, you know, we've seen a lot of Li Ming from T, right? And it's kind of like between Draded and T, you got to have some big pop there because double warrior going against the double support, you've got to have enough sustained damage to work against Uther, and then you've got to have that finisher. Genji can be that finisher. It opens up the door for a potential Lunar, but with Malfurion there, it's really difficult. So if they're going to go the Li Ming route, it's a little bit more difficult because it's a skill shot based hero, and you have to land a lot of them.
What do you make of this Stukov? Tyrael makes sense. We see the Tyrael Genji synergies. Blaze, he's got the slows, while Tyrion's got the speeding up too, but the Stukov, what do you think?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of control when you look at that. I mean, you get, in boss control, I guess I should specify, is we get the Dahaka for Swabs and the Diablo picked up again, one of the higher win rates. So Stukov kind of controls areas. Uther, because he's a melee hero, you can't really get as much value as Uther when you're silenced, things like that. So you can target, prioritize that frontline hero, and maybe try and take care of that front line. Knowing that Uther's going to be there, you're going to have at least 2 more melee between Swabs and Figgy.
The Dahaka for McIntyre has turned out to be quite a strong pick. Something like
oh yeah, that on HeroesHearth, yeah.
4.5 kills per game from McIntyre's Dahaka, which is just kind of fairly new. He hasn't played it. He was playing a lot more of other picks, like Leoric to start off. He's played a lot of Malthael, but started to see more Dahaka. He's 2-0 with the hero so far. A lot of kills, so he's making sure to still be a playmaker for the team even when he's on Dahaka. Landing the drags, and that's going to be crucial. You know, they've got a lot of follow-up for things like the Diablo combo for the drags. That means that those things need to be on point, and they need to be coordinated. But we know that's the thing that HeroesHearth is more than capable of doing.
Is this a draft? I was going to say, is this a draft where we see Greymane make it through here in North America? Instead, it will be the last pickup here on the side of LFM. So definitely going with something they're very familiar with. Again, this is the changed Greymane, slightly altered Greymane with his cocktail and everything like that. So less damage, it feels, much less priority than we saw in our previous 4 weeks.
Yeah, he is falling down pretty rapidly. He started right off this weekend in Europe being very low priority. Did see a little bit more today. Saw the new Wizened Duelist today in Europe, so maybe we'll see that again from T. But it does seem, at least from yesterday to today, that we're also seeing that fall in priority in North America. But what it does do is, as we talked about, allows the LFM to have some more of that early siege. Stukov can try to keep that more protected by having the lurking arm underneath the gate. And with so many melee and the double supporting of Heroes Hearth, if LFM does this kind of same thing that they've done before, where they try to siege it out somewhere else, maybe give up some temple shots, you should be able to get something done with it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a big priority. Using that Greymane has been one of the best sieging tools. It depends on who kind of gets there first. Does LFM get to their night camp first? Does Heroes Hearth get to that? Who's going to blink first? And oftentimes it does come down to who kind of controls the rotations. If I get mine 5 seconds before you, I can force that rotation, come down, deal with what you did, and get the upper hand. So that is something that I think is a major play in the early parts with the top-bottom camps on both sides.
Let's get into Sky Temple for game 1 between LFM Esports and HeroesHearth Esports. HeroesHearth needs a single game to clinch their spot at the Western Clash. LFM is going to look to stop them, especially here on their favorite map.
Yeah, this is LFM here on the left side in blue. It will be Figgy on Tyrael, Swabs on Blaze, Draded on Genji, T this time on the Greymane, and Aware rounding it out on Stukon.
For HeroesHearth Esports, they're in the red. We've got BBJ. He's going to be playing the Malfurion. Ishbu will be on Diablo. McIntyre playing Dahaka. Arthalon will be flexing over to Uther. And finally, Tychus will be played by Crowan.
Arthalon has one of the largest hero pools, Gilly. Coming into this weekend, 13 different heroes. This is going to make it 14, which I believe puts him as the largest hero pool, definitely in North America, maybe globally.
Like Simplicity, very interesting to see Arthalon playing Uther here, but that's sort of where we've developed in the meta. Simplicity wanting to make sure that they can have Hosty, who has been working hard. Hosty said something like, I don't know if he was exaggerating or if he was for real, but like 16 hours a day of work as this combo comes in, putting some damage on the Aware. But Hosty has been working his butt off. The rest of Simplicity has. HeroesHearth, LFM, they've been doing it too. HeroesHearth desperate to make sure that they can get that one game win so they can qualify. But it's just very interesting to see that change up.
You can already see on the minimap Greymane waiting at 1 minute for that siege camp to spawn. They primed up that bottom lane by getting some early structure damage in. They've all of a sudden put themselves directly onto that siege camp. They're going to be there first. It's a matter of, do they push with it? Do they rotate up? And I think what we'll see is the team that kind of gets these first, Gilly, will have a little bit of control of these early rotations. So HeroesHearth committing multiple people down here to the Siege Giants to kind of keep up.
Yeah, they're making sure that they can get those no invade from LFM at all. Instead, they're sending Greymane straight up to get bruisers to try to help out Blaze in that top lane, maybe get some structural damage done there, and then take control of that top temple so they can get some damage done with that, maybe even try to take out the first fort of the game and get even further ahead. HeroesHearth, they're keeping their Diablo, Tychus, and Malfurion here in the bottom lane, what means that Arthalon has to be up in the mid soaking, but it does allow them to clear out these giants, especially since LFM is way more about getting their bruisers faster, much faster than HeroesHearth.
Yeah, they're definitely going to force that out. Greymane, I believe, has to Hearth there, so let's see if he manages to try and push. Again, that control of these camps is a major point that Siege Giants haven't done a lot, but it's controlling the rotations right now of HeroesHearth. LFM has been first so far, but I think the main part will be when the temple phase comes in 45 seconds at the 3-minute mark. Will HeroesHearth go back, grab theirs, look to push in that top lane, and maybe look to get the top temple simultaneously and try and get one of those early forts to get that early experience advantage.
I almost wondered if we see Greymane go back to the bottom, knowing that HeroesHearth were going to respond to these bruisers, and then just try to push that back. But they are going to do something similar, and that's to push it in the mid and start working on those towers with the Greymane. And thanks to the shielding that they have, oh, nice flip over. Knocked in, but of course it's Figgy. He has Eldruin. He'll get back out.
I like
rotations.
Gilly, this is a refined LFM early game strategy. They forced the rotations out. They kept somebody middle. They primed the middle. The same way that you would prime the top lane to get a little bit of structure damage in to amplify that temple's value. Now they can do the exact same thing in the middle lane if they so choose. So HeroesHearth, they're going to respond accordingly. They're here in the mid lane to start.
Yeah, it gives LFM options for what they want to do over this temple phase. They are hovering around mid, but HeroesHearth wanting to be here, wanting to see if they can get an early pick, thanks to the Diablo with the follow-up, the double follow-up of the supports. LFM are still willing to fight this out as they get onto the point. Figgy with the flip. Silence hits the Tychus. There's a big knockback from the Guardian. Arthalon under fire from LFM. First blood.
First blood. Compliments to the Guardian there, getting the assist. Dahaka the whole time, however, has stayed in the bottom lane, so the experience has gone slightly over to LFM because of the early structure damage that they did, allowing the temples to kind of secure a bit more experience. But Dahaka has helped kind of keep that even by staying in that bot lane for quite a while.
Now, HeroesHearth took a lot of that temple before LFM postured to get onto the point. So they're going to try to go up and do the same in the top lane. And what it does is they took a little bit of fort damage in the mid, but it kept them from losing out too much on that mid fort thanks to their willingness to kind of adapt to what LFM were doing on the fly. LFM starts to come up. McIntyre, this time he's stalking in. It's going to take a while for Blaze to get back here. Drated from the charge, but a great silence to stop any further aggression from HeroesHearth.
So be aware there, heard the Dahaka, knew that he could only be in one bush or the other, threw out the weighted pustule, got the slow on him. Normally Dahaka has that extra movement speed coming out of the bushes. There was denied that, but now HeroesHearth looking to re-engage. Figgy gets out though with that Eldruins.
A growing infestation is problematic for HeroesHearth, hoping to be able to get any kills, but they're always pushing back LFM, so HeroesHearth continues to channel this tempo, and they're going to get the rest of the shots here, making sure to keep up with aggression. Just like we saw McIntyre do with the first temple, now Blaze just opting to stay in the bottom, going to do some more damage and clear out the minions there, and that's gotten LFM nearly a level lead. HeroesHearth are going to try to even that out a little bit by pushing in this top and taking out this top floor.
They have to, Gilly. They did not have an opportunity to get their night camp. LFM came in with a strategy. This was the biggest talking point for me coming in, knowing what the series would be like. LFM needed to come in with a strategy, needed to focus on the early game macro. Too many times we've seen them kind of play even or not, or get slightly behind, but they've never kind of been dictating the pace. Here, they are very much dictating the pace. They have a level and a half lead off of one kill. That's it. But it wasn't the kill that did it. It was the camp pickups. It was the rotations. It was a very calculated approach. And so far, they're in control of this game, and they're dominating. They're looking for fort number 2 here just 5-6 minutes in.
They'll be able to get it no problem at all with that double giant camp, having level 10 heroic abilities. HeroesHearth do not want to poke their heads out. LFM are even considering a boss because they are so far ahead in experience. What's HeroesHearth going to do about it? Nothing.
Well, that's bully mentality. What are you going to do about it? LFM is sitting here in the driver's seat. This is their map pick. They had a strategy in mind. They have it, and it's executing well. They have level 10. They've got 2 forts down and a boss. We'll have the temple phase here in a short bit. But we need to get to the next step. LFM, how many more steps do you have to complete this puzzle?
Starts with clearing out mid. Dahaka's showing top. Go into the watchtower there. Maybe scare him away. Boss is an early boss, so it's just going to be designed to buy time from HeroesHearth, who are going to be there trying to deal with that, and that lets LFM get even more aggressive and go for another camp steal, so that there's absolutely no wave that is pushing even at all in favor of HeroesHearth.
This is great to see for LFM. Probably not that great to see if you're a HeroesHearth fan. All they got to do is win one game, and obviously it's still early. We're 7 minutes in, but LFM very much in control. HeroesHearth, they'll have to deal with the camp before they can try and re-engage. But now with level 10, we're on even footing. We have a single temple phase. If HeroesHearth is able to get a big decisive team fight, they easily find themselves back in this game. But where we stand now is a major structure advantage early game for LFM.
Yeah, this is the place for HeroesHearth to fight before 13 comes in for LFM and before HeroesHearth start losing any further structures. It's already a temple firing on that final fort, but knowing that Dahaka can stalk in, LFM, they're going to play this more patiently, more conservatively until they know when that Dahaka is going to stalk in, until they see him again, until they can figure out the positioning of all of HeroesHearth so they don't get caught and split apart by that Dahaka stalk.
Yeah, the mobility of Tyrael really kind of complements this. He's got his Eldruins down. You can see it in the bush there. But Drated going in really deep so far. Bunkers out. McIntyre on the backside. He's waiting in the wings, looking to find that isolation target.
That he is. But they're just going to turn on him. They see him. T, as he jumped on top of him. Apocalypse was out. Twilight Dream to follow up. But the Dragon Blade's there. And with a flailing swipe, ensures that the fight is on the terms of LFM. Figgy falling fairly low. Got the great silence. No deaths, with a lot of heroic abilities used there. We'll see who can come out on top after the fact.
Yeah, the isolation was used onto Tyrael, so there was no sanctification. LFM took a lot of damage in the process. They still have that, however. Cursed Bullet could also set up a kill. There's still about 40% left on this temple. We'll see. There's the lurking arm. They're trying to find an opportunity, Gilly.
Yeah, Swabs has so much control with those oil spills down. The adhesive petroleum going in with another bunker, and Figgy's going to get inside as he was fairly low. Wants the armor from that. T chasing down, confirms 1 kill as he finally finds a kill on Uther, and Ishbu is going to use his charge to try to get out, but Drated is willing to chase and continue that aggression, getting a 2nd kill. McIntyre will be a 3rd. HeroesHearth have to walk back now with their Tychus, their Malfurion, as LFM starts working on the rest of that temple.
They're putting on a clinic right now. I mean, LFM is absolutely just coming in here and they're saying, we have a strategy, we're executing. We're going to engage you in a team fight. By the way, we're going to win that too. They're winning on all fronts right now. They just have like a leash, and HeroesHearth is they're having to follow. Right now, everything that LFM wants to do, they're making it happen. So 4 kills to 0, all forts down, some keep wall damage, 2-level lead. LFM off to a fantastic start here.
LFM are off to a fantastic start, and I would give a lot of that to their composition. What does HeroesHearth need to do in these team fights with the composition that they have? They do not have a huge burst follow-up, really, when Diablo decides to go in. You know, we saw McIntyre being pretty patient, trying to figure out, but they've got a Tychus. He can go into Odin, he can kind of pepper and poke down people, but we saw an Apocalypse. Didn't really have the lockdown from that. Maybe if the lockdown is more secured from that, then maybe the Twilight Dream can be more impactful.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what they're going to have to do. They had the isolation onto Tyrael to make sure that they couldn't get beyond that. They just didn't have the proper setup. They'll have another opportunity. They need 13. Hopefully they'll get it here soon off one of these waves that are pushing in. But with LFM pushing in, they have the Tyrael shielding. Getting on there. It's forced to use Odin in defense of just a structure. This is how strong this push is. Forced to use a heroic just to defend.
Odin to defend as HeroesHearth step out forward, seeing if after the defense they could maybe catch someone and not let that heroic ability just be used for a defense of a mercenary camp. But LFM, they're out of there. They have that 2-level lead. They have 4 kills to 0. They have been winning every fight, but that doesn't mean they need to continue and give fights to the exact time when HeroesHearth ideally is looking for those fights to try to get back in the game. We've got 2 forts for LFM. HeroesHearth have nothing, so it's on them to try to get back out here, even up the experience so that they can get a place to fight and start contesting some of these temples.
I like that you pointed that out because they don't have to take a fight, but it's top-bottom temple. Wait a minute, we got the tongue landing onto Figgy there. The APOC, the silence, he gets in the bunker at the last second, and now Draded and team, they're looking to take the fight. Flailing Swipe has knocked him back. Figgy is so low.
He is very low, so was T as the Flailing Swipe went out, but Draded is popping off on the back line to Haka, separated from the rest. He goes down too. Charge in from Swamps as they chase down Crowan, and it's a long way back to the base, Crowan, especially with the Holy Ground to put you off the path to get back to that base. Diablo falls too. It's a 4 kill for nothing for LFM. I even thought with the Flailing Swipe, separating everyone out, putting Greymane in the midst of everyone, maybe that would be where HeroesHearth got a kill, but it was just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, but what is going to happen is, because they've already taken down all the forts, the bottom temple, this is why it's high priority. It focuses the closest lane. That, conveniently, is the bottom lane. Also, the boss lane. LFM is not just setting up for potentially just taking down a keep. They have potential to end the game off of this. That's why you saw T, he was contemplating going back, but the big bio kill switch there from Stukov getting those big heals. We're looking at a boss, Siege Giants, and a diminished keep and a 3-level lead for LFM. They might try and close it out here.
The huge deal in that last team fight too, the bunker that Tyrael was able to survive because the synergy was there for HeroesHearth, and that's what they needed if they were going to get that first kill. Sanctification would make that fight last way longer, and HeroesHearth have to get something done when those big heroic abilities, when Twilight Dream, when Apocalypse, when they come out. Now they're going to use Odin, so this is another time when they'll be looking to make something happen. But with that silence, it's going to be tough to get in and get on top of LFM.
It's boss at 50%. LFM abandoned the temple, which means that they are looking for more than just the keep. They're soft moving forward, wanted to see how much they could get out of it. They'll fall back, get the rest of the temple. But the reason you leave the temple early is because you want to see, can we get more out of this? If you stay on the temple, that keep is guaranteed, and then the shots go over to the middle, and that boss is just, you know, it takes time to clear up, but there's not much you can do off of it. If you kind of soft posture, you can kind of see, do we have an opportunity? They didn't have the opportunity. They still get the keep, and so they play it neutral, and they control a lot. They might even try to go up and contest the rest of this top temple.
An understandable choice from LFM, given that they have been winning every fight, and they are 3-level leading HeroesHearth here in Game 1. They go and get the rest of the shots in bottom. We'll have Giants pushing there. Eventually, that'll have to be responded to by HeroesHearth. But HeroesHearth are posturing mid to top. They put their global on the top, start channeling that temple immediately. Malfurion had been channeling a little bit of it before, so that does make sure that LFM doesn't get any further shots from this. And HeroesHearth are able to get a temple. They'll also get their own mercenary camp, and this should give them some time to clear out that camp bottom and get to 16.
You know, if Heroes Hearth is looking for an answer, they need not but to just look across and see who their opponents are. LFM have been the ultimate comeback king so far in terms of finding ways to get back into the game. With 16 right around the corner, Heroes Hearth, they'll need that talent tier to try and find a way back in it, because 20 getting close for LFM. So Heroes Hearth, they might try and get desperate. You can see the positioning. They're coming in for the flank, Gilly. I think right now they're trying to find it.
And LFM recognize it. Lots of control of anchoring from Swabs, as between his ignited oil spills and his anchoring, he makes sure that Heroes Hearth can't get that engagement there. LFM are playing this exactly as you would hope to see from the team who has such a massive lead, massive advantage on Sky Temple. With you controlling so many temples and having such a structural lead as well as experience, it's just a waiting game until you get that next temple phase and you have 20 with it.
Did you hear the chicken?
I did.
I was so confused for a second. Either way, the one thing that is in Heroes Hearth's favor is it's a single temple phase. For LFM, they've got the lane so far pushed out that it's hard for them to gain more experience.
It's getting clucking crazy in here.
It's getting crazy. Heroes Hearth, it's as desperate times call for desperate measures, and that desperate measure is to try for a very aggressive flank. 20 right around the corner. You know, this temple is so... That rooster's doing something on me, or bird. I don't know what that is, but...
It's the quiet, the calm before the storm.
It's the crazy before the storm. They don't necessarily have to contest this. They can soak 20 and then contest this. It's a much safer way. The problem is just finding ways to get that experience to you. You can see the top wave on the mini-map. You see all the red dots moving their way to the left. That's enough for them to gain enough experience to get 20.
Boss would be in 1 minute. They had that fort still in the bottom. They're totally fine just to hold on to this and wait and get 20. Heroes Hearth, they have their eyes on, or they did have their eyes on the lane where LFM could possibly be soaking, seeing if there was just anybody, anything, everything that they could possibly take to catch them back up before that gigantic talent tier advantage. With Genji, he's been safely soaking in top, the rest of the team being very safe to just soak in mid, not push it out, not get hasty. There are giants at the bottom that Heroes Hearth now are going to try to get and contend with, so that they don't end up having to... It can be really scary to have that lane pushed out because there's catapults, because if LFM win a fight and that lane's all the way pushed, well, if they win it dominantly, they're probably just going to go to core anyway, but you don't want to make it as easy as possible for them to do so. Yeah,
Arthlon walks forward. You know, I was surprised at LFM. They went down, looked for the invade. They're going to get the charge onto Arthlon, and they're looking for it. The boss is here, too. This could turn in to a messy situation, but 20 is now here for LFM, and they are going very far forward. Arthlon using the D shield, but that's going to be all for naught. That is not a good way to start this fight if you're Heroes Hearth.
No, it is not. They've dropped down Odin, and they've also used Isolation. The Isolation was on the aware. There's one of those controlled chaos swipes with having level 20 and the flailing swipe. LFM now, no Uther, and there is obviously no redemption because there's no 20. LFM in broad sight of Heroes Hearth are going to be just fine starting this boss because it was all for more, all for a fight, and Heroes Hearth, they will take it. Now, Ishbu goes down, drops the APOC as he dies. Draded chasing down in the back. McIntyre in trouble. Twilight Dream hits Draded. For the moment, BBJ stays alive, but I don't think Draded's letting him get out of here.
Not at all. This should be enough, Gilly, for... does he go for it now? I think this should be enough. They get boss. They should be able to close this out here. LFM, they'll try and do it. Right now, Diablo had souls. He's back already. Uther, a few seconds away, but they do not have Tychus, so the damage is not here. Between Holy Ground, there's just no way they can go in. Swabs with the zoning. This should be the victory march. If you are LFM, see if you can take some more down on your way there.
Yeah, they knew the souls were dead, so if they could take out Diablo, he wouldn't be here to defend. That's a lot of the oomph factor, a lot of a way for LFM to potentially lose one of their damage dealers in the back because he can dive in and try to catch someone. So without that, there's no Diablo, there's no Tychus for 5 seconds. LFM confidently move on to the core here. 12 kills to 0 as they start to bring down the core.
A double support, not enough, and there's a reason why it kind of fell out of favor in this map, as you said. Dealing with some of the sieging damage, dealing with some of the wave clear is one of the hard points for the double support. And LFM just came in, they said, we recognize the double support, here's what we're gonna do about it. And what they did was control that entire game. There was not a single second that they did not have complete control. The one thing that I absolutely loved the most, it was 19-17. And LFM, there was a single temple in the middle. Normally teams are like, well, maybe we should fight for this. They just let it go. They literally did nothing. Sometimes doing nothing is more than doing something. And that right there shows the maturity of this team is coming around. The late game decision makings are sometimes the hardest in the game to know, like, is the pressure going to get to me? Can we get this? What's the value of this? And right there, LFM definitely showed some maturity in just letting it go.
Yeah,
they played it.
Doing nothing was, in fact, doing something for them because it made sure that there was no place, no opportunity. They never allowed HeroesHearth to have a fair fight, to have any opportunity to even get picks. The way that they were grouped up and soaking on their slow soak to 20 was very cautious. Genji in top, he has a ton of mobility. He is one that likely would be able to escape, although there's a ton of lockdown for HeroesHearth, so they really were able to catch him, but he was being safe. The rest were being safe too. LFM played that to perfection, and there's nothing that they can show that more other than the fact that they had all their keeps up by the end. They gave up the forts. They gave up that last fort. They didn't give up a single kill. They played that very well.
I can't compliment them enough. What they just did is very rarely seen. When you have that 12-0, sometimes it's 12-0, right? It's like 11, 12, 13-minute game. But it was just a controlled pace, a very measured approach. So what they did there shows the growth. I think that's the exciting part for me. You got to look on the other side of your HeroesHearth. That was the map pick for LFM. That is their favored battleground. It's their most successful battleground. Now, if you're on the side of HeroesHearth, you get to choose. Do you want first pick or do you want map pick? All you need is one game. So if it's a matter of like playing to your best map, just go there, pull off that one victory, and then all the pressure's off. Just one game is all they need.
What are you asking? Are you asking for Tomb or Volskaya?
I don't know how I feel about Volskaya for HeroesHearth. I would venture to say Tomb. Towers, I feel, is another strong point of theirs.
Wasn't that banned?
Oh, Towers, what? I need to see the map again.
I actually didn't see bans too because I was talking through it, but I think that was banned. LFM has been switching their bans to Towers of Doom, so I think probably that one's out.
Then give me Tomb.
All right.
Then give me Tomb. Volskaya, I think, definitely brings up something different for both teams, as I think they have the most games played between the two of them. So it's definitely something I think you're not going to catch anybody off guard. But I think if you want that one, I think Tomb is definitely it. There's a lot of strengths towards the way HeroesHearth likes to play. And you go back to their Open Division days, that was another map that they like to play.
Actually, I just found out that LFM banned Tomb.
Okay.
Yeah, HeroesHearth. We'll see it when the map graphic comes up too. But switching that ban then and not banning Towers. So Towers is still available, and Towers is another one that HeroesHearth has been picking a little bit more. But it hurts not to have Tomb, as that has been the solid playing ground for HeroesHearth throughout all of Part 1.
I think it's definitely something, again, their strengths rely in kind of the skirmish factor, team effort, 5-member effort. They had the Dahaka, and Dahaka actually kept them in the game for quite a while there, keeping up with some of the experience, but it was never enough, right? I mean, it can only get you so much. It's up to the rest of the team to try and make things happen. This allows them to execute better. It allows them to kind of come together. And some of their best games, their best team performances have been in the fights when on Tomb of the Spider Queen. You go back to the Tempo game. You go back to another game where, you know, we saw the big flanks when he stopped playing, McIntyre stopped playing Leoric. He switched over to Sonya, things like that. Things started to come together a little bit easier for that team to just kind of play more their style of letting Crow and poke, letting be on something like a Hanzo or a Greymane, kind of get him there, enable that, not going double support in that manner either. And so we'll see if that does become a priority in the map pickup.
Now, Jihao, you bring up a point, and that's Crowan's Hanzo, and I want to ask you this, because you've been casting this team for a long time. Is it too small-minded to look at what teams now between LFM and Galeforce have done, which is just ban Hanzo, and it seems like you're able to get a win over HeroesHearth? Is that going to continue? Do they have? We've seen Crowan play other heroes, so I'm a little bit confused, but it does seem to feel like that is hurting them.
I think it hurts them in the sense that it changes up their play style a lot. You know, the Hanzo kind of allows him to kind of sit back, Hanzo has good range, good poke, and when he's able to do that, we've seen him position, especially the mobility, really helps. But if you go back to the old meta, when it comes to the Vala, when it comes to the Tracer, when it comes to things like that in the Greymane, you throw that in there, he's no slouch, right? You can throw Lunara in there. It just kind of, what do you need? The Cassia in particular. There's so much flexibility. It just feels like they changed their approach because it changes the dynamics of their draft. Hanzo, you could say Hanzo, Lunara, a lot of that are the same, but it's a very different approach to the way that they handle it. And when I recall, I mean, we casted a lot of their games for several weeks in Open Division, and it seems like no matter what, they had a strategy for everything. Here in the Pro Division, obviously strategies change a little bit. Teams are more refined on rotations, and it seems like they're still like, all right, what if we do this, but with a different style, a different composition. And I think that the overall composition that they're running feels a little bit different, is that they're still playing the same way that they would with Hanzo, that they would with like a Cassia. Things like that. It just doesn't have the same feel.
We're going to Towers of Doom.